Hello, Mr. Gheorghiu.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. All right, so
We start again.
we start again. So how are you? Good? All good?
Hopefully, yeah. You never know exactly. Yeah.
You never know. All right, so we play here against Klovans in Biel, 1991.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
Klovans was in that time probably the strongest player from Latvia. I mean, second after Tal. No, Tal was the first player from Latvia, and the Klovans was also a very strong grandmaster. In that time, or a little bit afterwards, he became world champion for veterans, for guys who retired, of course, but they were a little bit older, like this.
Become
Very
world
strong
champion?
grandmaster.
Yes.
Yeah, world champion.
But Tal managed to play for Latvia after Soviet Union?
I don't know if he didn't. I don't know if he lived still. Then maybe I don't know exactly when he died. But if he continued to play, it was for a small period. Afterwards. Yeah. So we played the Sicilian and pause and variation, and after CD knight takes d4 a6, bishop d3 knight f6 castle. d6. Well, the alternative here is queen c7. The way I played against Wolf in New York in 87, it's also very interesting. But d6 is, more normal like this, the normal variation. c4, bishop e7, knight c3, castle. Bishop e3, knight bd7. All this is theory until here, Now f4, g6, king h1.
Oh, what is the idea with the G6?
G6 prepares against the White's initiative, later on. White wants to come later on, the king's side.
Yes.
Because, as you can see, White has always, in this kind of position, a little bit more space. I mean, he has more space, a small initiative, and he tries to, to attack you quickly, if it's possible, If you are not careful, you have to look against two variations. F5 very quickly, somehow.
Yes.
Or G4, G5, and then he comes, later on.
So this one
this
is to block?
The idea. G6 is a little bit, a stop, a move that tries to stop a little bit the White initiative on the king's side. Also, waiting in the same time. I mean, you wait to see what happens, He has two, three ideas for White, F5 immediately. If it's possible, after knight F3, he can threaten also E5. And the other one is to play G4, G5, This, you have to be very careful with black. The first 15, 20 moves in this kind of position are very important because afterwards, if black survives, I mean, if nothing happens quickly, then it's all right, like in any Sicilian, And then it's more or less a normal game.
So, but also you intend to bring the bishop here?
The idea is to play rook e8, and somehow, if it's necessary and possible, you play bishop f8, bishop g7. This is the idea to have a very good defensive position for black, you see.
Okay.
So, all right, g6, and black played here, yeah?
Yes, so the...
King h1 first, no?
Yes.
King h1, rook e8, yeah? Queen f3, and now, of course, queen c7 is necessary. You want to play later on immediately b6, bishop b7, but you have to play first queen c7 because b6 was a big mistake. After knight g6, you are lost, if you give the possibility. So queen c7 is good.
So here, if you play
b6, is very bad mistake. After knight c6 is very bad for black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because you lose.
Because if White can trade the bishop from e7, it's very bad for you. Because after g6, the diagonal is very weak. The bishop from d4 threatens everything on the black squares. Is very unpleasant. And it's not good, of course. Queen c7 is not the normal move, the good move. Yeah, queen c7. Okay, rook c1, b6. And then he played b4. This is a little bit too ambitious, in my opinion. I mean, White wants to have everything here. Well, everything is a little bit too much. I mean, he wants to control all the cases, the central squares. He wants to have initiative on the queen side, initiative on the king side. Well, therefore I tell you it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, initiative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if he wanted something, it was better to play only on the king side. I mean, this is the normal way. Like this, we'll see during the game, after b4, that it seems very good for white because he controls all the squares, but later on he'll have himself many problems because of this b4 move, which will be a small weakness later on, during the game. So bishop b7, queen h3, okay, bishop f8, and now knight f3. Now he changed a little bit the plan, and he wants to come with the knight on g5, threatening something against your king, against the black queen. Okay, knight f3, rook c8, knight g5. Okay, knight g5, bishop g7. Black realizes his idea, that bishop g7, everything is all right, under control, you see, like that. So, and now queen h4. Well, he tries. Well, the idea is to come with the rook in h3, but it's too much because then if you arrive there, you have to be careful against the move h6, the knight will be a little bit attacked, you see. So it looks very strong, but it's a little bit artificial for white because later on he'll have to retreat the queen from h4, you see. So, okay, queen h4, h6, very good defensive move.
You didn't want to wait until the rook?
No, this is okay. h6 is good. Now he has to come back, of course. And now this is again very strong for black because black waits, but in the same time you have to decide what to do with white. You continue the initiative on the king side, which is really not very dangerous, but how? You have to find a way. If now you play g4 is a little bit, again, too much because it opens a little bit too much the diagonal from b7 to h1. If not, you have to prepare with h3 because immediately queen f2 was bad. Instead, after queen f2, knight g4, black is almost winning. I mean, very strong for black. So, therefore, queen d8 is very good defensive move. Threatening to move the knight and trying to trade queens. If you can trade queens, it's very good for black, again,
Why? Because there is no more...
Because without queen, it's not possible to attack anymore with white, you see. And then you have some, weaknesses all over the board, you see, like this. So h3, and then again, very, very good move, knight h5. Now again, we give the possibility to trade queens, and you have, white has a weakness in g3. And therefore, after queen takes d8, rook takes d8, king h2, you don't have to allow, the knight g3 check. And b5 immediately, black is always better, you see. Because after b5, you can't play c takes b5 because you lose the knight from c3. And therefore, as I told you before, the move b4 was a little bit too much, a little bit too ambitious, you see. Okay, so, all right, he goes back in f2, and now immediately b5. As we saw it before, this is possible because the weakness from this diagonal, the knight from c3 is attacked, and white can't take immediately in b5, and therefore it's okay for black. Here in this position, black is already better, in my opinion, you see. So, we'll see what happens in the game. Okay, so knight e2. All right, knight e2, that gives the possibility to take immediately in c4, and then white has to lose the pawn, the central pawn from e4. And afterwards is excellent for black, you see. Is forced. Now you have to take back in c4, no? And now, okay, bishop takes e4, bishop takes a6, and now we move the rook to a8. Now everything is clear. We have the possibility to play very actively with black, and we can attack immediately the two pawns, B and A, The black pieces are very active, and it's clear that black is better, We control the board. All over the board, the black pieces are better, you see.
But here it wasn't, because for me it looks like these are two pass pawns.
Two pass pawns, but he can't move, This is the problem.
Wasn't better to move this?
Well, he plays b5.
Yes.
After knight b8, you see?
Yes.
You can't save the bishop from a6. And if you lose the bishop from a6, it's clear worse for white, you see.
Because it will be double pawns. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you lose the A pawn, you lose both. You see, A6 and A2, and yeah, it's finished. So already has to be very careful here. It's clear that black is better, clearly better. So he moves back, and now queen b8. Now it's clear. We attacked both pawns, b4 and a2.
So the win is from b4.
Therefore I told you, it was a little bit too much. He overstepped a little bit the limits, in the opening. You see. So, okay, knight d2, and then we move back the knight. We give the two bishops, but now the knight from e4 will be, again, very active, very, very strong. So, right, he took, black took back, and queen e1, and rook a4. Now we attack immediately the weakness, you see. All right, b5, rook a3, yes, rook a3, very good. Rook f3. For the moment, he could defend, but it's artificial, for white, you see. And now very strong, d5.
Here wasn't better, to bring the bishop here on g1?
Well, if he moves the bishop in g1, after d5, again, he's lost, bishop g1, d5, he loses at least a pawn. We attack the bishop. The only move is bishop b3, because in d3 is attacked, Yes. And after bishop b3, queen takes b5 is immediately winning for black, you see. Well, rook f3, and now d5. Well, here it seems that the only move was to play after the game. He recommended queen b4, but after queen b4, rook, bishop f8 again was very bad for white, you see.
Okay. So
with the bishop in c4.
Yes.
The bishop in c4, queen b4. Okay, and after queen b4, we can play bishop f8, and now what can he do? He has to go back only in b1, because otherwise, terrible. Yeah. And now we can transpose. We can take in c4, he takes in e4, we can take in b5, we can take in a2, everything is hanging for white, you see. So he didn't play queen b4, and he goes back to b3, and now black won a pawn, queen takes b5. Normally this position is completely winning for black, you see, but he continued. Of course, we were both in time trouble, and the game will be very tactical, and finally black wins very nicely. So knight d4, queen b7. You have to be only careful to play the best moves here, but the position is winning, you see, like in any Sicilian. So knight b4, back, and now knight d3. Well, here and there, you see, the knight is moving all over the board, but it's too late, you see. And now rook e8, the normal move. Now what to do now? Pawn down, and very bad position for white, you see. Queen b5, we attack everything, you see, every piece. And now after queen d1, it's clear that he loses at least the exchange, And now is decisive. Rook takes c1, bishop takes c1, and knight g3 check. Well, finished. We won the exchange for nothing, you see. And now after queen takes f1, knight c5, again pinned, and white resigned. Yep. All the white pieces are hanging, and it's a catastrophe for white after, he was playing very actively, and here the final position is terrible for white, you see.
Yeah.
I mean, he loses every piece. Like in any Sicilian, I told you. In Sicilian, it's always like this. If you survive the first 20 moves, let's say, and nothing happens, tactically, later on in endgame, usually black is better, and the black counterattack is almost decisive, And it happened the same in our game here. But anyway, the game was very interesting and very good for black.
Nice. Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.